Dylan's Law. 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 Dylan's Law.
Hello. Welcome back to the 6th episode of Dylan's Law. Excited to be here. We're going to have a good time. Quick episode this week. Not going to go over an hour because I have some stuff to do at my daughter's school. Very excited. It's the day of awesome. So yesterday my daughter, you can see it over my shoulder right here. That's not what got displayed, but my daughter, just a little bragging to start the podcast. Some of you probably have kids and they probably suck compared to mine. So anyway, what a horrible way to start a podcast. But my daughter had 2 pieces of art displayed at the district-wide art show, which is pretty fucking cool. And my son's in a basketball camp, which is pretty fucking cool. We're doing big things here at this house. And today is the day of awesome. There's a video game truck, Kona Ice, stuff like that. So we're gonna get this rolling. Very excited to be here. Lots of stuff going on in the world, Lots of stuff going on in the world, but we've gone down some conspiracy holes the last couple of weeks. A lot of heavy on the conspiracies, heavy on the Diddy, heavy on the Nickelodeon, always heavy on the Israel-Palestine. That's still going on. But this week we're going to go towards some things that, when you see them and start to understand them, the conspiracy theories start to make a lot more sense, And hold on, I don't want this to start playing. Anyway, so 2 things have happened. 2 things have happened in the last week. Let's see, what's this bill called? One thing that's happening right now, the FISA bill. FISA is how you go about getting warrants, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest expert on what FISA does. I know that's how they spy on people, the government. That's how the government spies on people warrantless, without warrants, I believe. I don't know. Maybe it's out of country. Let's look up what is FISA. What is FISA? The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act of 1978. That's what FISA is. Unlike domestic criminal surveillance warrants issued under Title III of the Omnibus Crime Control and Safe Streets Act of 1968, agents need to demonstrate probable cause to believe that the target of the surveillance is a foreign power agent of a foreign power. Agents do not need to demonstrate that commission of a crime is imminent. When the government has accidentally intercepted communications under circumstances in which a person has reasonable expectation of privacy, and a warrant would be required for law enforcement purposes, and if both the sender and all intended recipients are located within the United States, the government is required to destroy those records unless the Attorney General determines that the contents indicate a threat of death or serious bodily harm to any person. The president may authorize electronic surveillance. Let me share this with you guys. Now, that's fine. I will share it, actually. The president may authorize electronic surveillance to acquire foreign intelligence information for periods of up to 1 year without a FIC court order, where the Attorney General certifies that there is no substantial likelihood that the surveillance will acquire the contents of any communication to which a U.S. person is a party. Anyway, so this is just bills that, making the rules for who and how they can spy on you. So that's something that happened. It's broadening. They can name anyone a foreign asset. If you've paid attention to things like the Patriot Act, and we'll get into that. Another thing that happened is this. Let's see here. So we like to protest. That's something that I believe America is built on. But the Supreme Court essentially bans demonstrations, freedom of assembly in the deep South. Now, I am a more or less a freedom of speech absolutist. That's basically what I am. And why? Because when you start to do things like this power can be used by anyone. Trump can come into office. This is what the vote blue, no matter who people need to understand. The more powers you give a Biden or an Obama or a Clinton, the more broader reach of spy powers, of war powers that you give liberal presidents. Well, when the Republican or conservative president comes into power 4 to 8 years later, which is how it's always worked and how it always will work, they now have those same powers. They now have those same laws to work with. So remember that. So this says, don't try leading a mass protest for civil rights, worker rights, or anything else in the deep South states of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. You could wind up arrested and broke, even if you didn't do a violent thing or urge violence. And that prospect ends mass protests before they even occur. The Supreme Court assaulted and ditched key parts of the Constitution once again in an incredible and unexpected ruling on April 15th. In those 3 states, it holds mass protest leaders responsible if someone in the following crowd, it doesn't matter who, throws a rock or breaks into a store causing personal property damage. Now, so this would mean that the leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement would be held responsible for when things get out of control and businesses are looted. That means they're held responsible. That means, obviously, Donald Trump can be held responsible for things that happened at the Capitol. Sorry, I know that's the worst sound in the world to hear on a podcast. Now, is that a good thing? Maybe. Some people would say it was. Some people would say it wouldn't. That's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is the fact that once you make it so that leaders and organizers of protest are held responsible for any violence, any damage that the protesters or people in the crowd commit, you're setting a bad precedent. Because if you've been paying attention, something that the CIA and the FBI and all the intelligence communities in our country have done since the 60s, whether it's the hippies, whether it's the Black Panthers, whether it's Republican or conservative groups, whether it's far right-wing militia groups or far left-wing groups, the intelligence communities put people in them that they control so that they can get information, but also so that they can agitate them. There's all kinds of cases of, the CIA or the FBI, finding some kid who's obviously troubled online to, get them to be an Al-Qaeda insurgent, and all you have to do is do this bomb, and then the second he goes to detonate the bomb that doesn't work, they arrest him, and they set him up. Think about the governor of Michigan, right? The governor of Michigan, there's a plot to assassinate her, or not assassinate, kidnap her. Guess what, guys? 9 out of the 12 people involved, 9 out of the 12 were FBI agents. So, anyway, the U.S. Supreme Court assaulted and ditched key parts of the Constitution once again in an incredible and unexpected ruling on April 15th. In those 3 states, it holds mass protest leaders responsible if somebody in the crowd, doesn't matter who, throws a rock or breaks into a store causing personal property damage. Now, so imagine you're protesting for Black Lives Matter, okay? And imagine that the government has put instigators into that group to stir up violence, to get people acting, in an uproar, to get people looting, to influence that kind of behavior. Well, now, because of this precedent that's been set by the Supreme Court, guess who's responsible? The leaders of that movement. And they can be arrested for it. Okay? You think that the government's not going to use that to plant people within these organizations to get rid of leaders of any, whether the leaders are actual people that need to get rid of, which there's groups like that all over the country that should be gotten rid of. You know what I mean? But that has to be, they can't, I don't know. There's also people who are leaders of, of organizations and groups that are actually trying to unite us and bring us together. And if you don't think that the government won't use this to get rid of them, you haven't been paying attention. The court's reasoning in Doe versus Mickerson, demonstration and protest leaders are held responsible for the acts of their followers, even if the leader specifically told everyone to be peaceful and nonviolent. But if an anonymous follower sets violence off, the leader gets punished, the Supreme Court said. The practical effect is to chill the rights of people to peacefully protest in those 3 Deep South states, all covered by the New Orleans-based 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, a court stuffed with Donald Trump-named judges reflecting white nationalistic loathing of African Americans. The states also packed with white supremacist Trumpite lawmakers are particularly anxious to curb any protests by African Americans. So exactly what I'm saying. Although this now that I'm reading more of this, this is a little more biased to one side than I thought. But that's okay, because it's not just that; it's all sides. Anyone that's in power will use this now, and that's a very scary thing. These are the kind of things that while Drake and Rick Ross are beefing over who's richer, and we're all watching their stories going back and forth, this is what's happening right under our eyes. So pay attention. You know what I mean? We got to pay attention. My browser's lost connection to my mic. Okay, my mic is muted. Unmute. All right, well, I guess the mic was muted for a little while. That's okay. Whatever. We'll see how long it was muted. I'm not starting over. That's okay. But we're going to play our first song. We have to play our first song. Very excited. Not connecting to the Bluetooth for some reason. Anyway, how you guys feeling, You guys feeling good? You guys feeling good out there? I'm feeling good. We're connected. All right, so our first song today, let's go with some rock. I like these girls. This band is called Turning Jane. They have a couple singles out. They asked me to do both. I'll do one next week. So this is Trouble by Turning Jane, everybody. And I'm going to get their Instagram up on the screen. This is Trouble by Turning Jane.
Someday I said you would change. You should've known we would end
That's Trouble by Turning Jane. Turning Jane is a dynamic all-girls rock band hailing from the vibrant music scene of Los Angeles. This powerhouse group has been making waves with their unique blend of raw energy, infectious melodies, and empowering lyrics. Shows. I was showing them, but I'll read them to you. Friday, May 3rd and Friday, May 5th. They're at the Dallas International Guitar Festival. Friday, May 10th. May the 10th. Friday, May 10th at 11 p.m. They are at the Mint in L.A. Sunday, May 19th, they're at the House of Blues, Anaheim. On Tuesday, August 27th, Plush, Find the Beautiful Tour. They're opening for Plush. I'm pretty sure Plush is a Christian rock band, right? Who else is on this? Fallout Kings, Pinktastic, Plastic. All right. We'll go see Turning Jane, everybody. I dug that. That was really good. I'm going to play their other song next week. But check them out. Turning Jane. They're on Spotify. That song was called Trouble. I don't know if comedians kind of get upset when you tell them they sound like someone else. But that did remind me of a band called Dorothy. I hope that's okay to say. But I like Dorothy, so I dug that. So that was great. Good job, everybody. And now for a little video, because to be honest, the protest van was bad. It's not even the worst thing. Let's go over to TikTok. Oh, I can't hear him. Why can't I hear you? Why can't I hear you, fella?
Noah Chauvin.
There we go.
Council on the liberty to tell you about a bill that endangers your privacy. It could require ordinary U.S. businesses to give the NSA access to Americans' communications on an unprecedented scale. I'm Noah Chauvin, Council on the Liberty and National Security team here at the Brennan Center. This week, the Senate will vote on whether to reauthorize Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Congress intended this law to make it easier for the government to monitor the communications of foreign terrorists located overseas. But intelligence agencies have exploited a legal loophole to conduct warrantless searches for the private phone calls, text messages, and emails of Americans whose data is inevitably captured under this program. Section 702 is badly in need of reform. But instead of reining in warrantless surveillance, the bill the Senate will consider, the Reforming Intelligence and Securing America Act, or RISA, would be the largest expansion of domestic surveillance since the Patriot Act. It would allow the government to require ordinary businesses that provide Wi-Fi to their customers to give the NSA access to any communications that were routed through or stored on the Wi-Fi equipment. These businesses could include the commercial landlord for your office building, the barbershop where you get your hair cut, and even the local laundromat. By forcing these businesses to serve as surrogate spies, the NSA could gain wholesale access to vast volumes of Americans' communications and would be on the honor system to only pull out and retain the communications of their foreign targets. Ron Wyden has called this one of the most dramatic and terrifying expansions of government surveillance authority in history. He's right. Unless this provision is removed, the Senate must not pass RISA.
So, oh, that was crazy. So this is the senator that he was talking about. Ron Wyden is heading to the Senate floor. This is what he said. The FISA wish I could talk while I'm doing this podcast. The FISA legislation coming from the House gives the government unchecked authority to order Americans to spy on behalf of the government. Some of my colleagues say that they are not worried about President Biden abusing these authorities. In that case, how about President Trump? Imagine these authorities in his hands. Imagine these authorities in Trump's hands if you are worried about having a president who lives to target vulnerable Americans, to pit Americans against each other, to find every conceivable way to punish his perceived enemies. You should find this bill terrifying. So, any bill that infringes on our freedoms, and we're muted again. I don't know why. Any bill that infringes on our freedoms is something that needs to be talked about, and it hasn't been talked about at all. We should be against these. This is literally what it's being described as is if you are using Wi-Fi at a laundromat, the laundromat might be required to be used as a channel for the government to spy on you. I mean, is this America or is this 1940s Germany? Because that's what they want. That's crazy, and no one's really talking about it. I don't know why. Let's see what the ACLU has to say. They kind of give a little breakdown of it. So, warrantless surveillance under Section 702 of FISA. Under Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, the U.S. government engages in mass warrantless surveillance of Americans and foreigners' phone calls, text messages, emails, and other electronic communications. Information collected under the law without a warrant can be used to prosecute. Let me repeat that. Information collected under the law without a warrant can be used to prosecute and imprison people, even for crimes that have nothing to do with national security. Given our nation's history of abusing its surveillance authorities and the secrecy surrounding the program, we should be concerned that Section 702 is and will be used to disproportionately target disfavored groups, whether minority communities, political activists, or even journalists. Section 702 is set to expire at the end of 2023. We call on Congress to significantly reform the law or allow it to sunset. What's wrong with Section 702? It allows warrantless surveillance of people inside and outside the United States. Though Section 702 is justified as a counterterrorism tool, in reality, it permits surveillance far beyond what is needed to protect national security. It allows the government to target foreigners abroad if it believes they possess foreign intelligence information, a term so broadly defined that it can include ordinary information about foreign affairs that has nothing to do with national security. This means that targets of surveillance could include human rights defenders, journalists, whistleblowers, and business owners. The government collects the personal information of these individuals, including any communications they may have with people in the U.S., and stores it in its database for years, and in some cases, indefinitely. Just making sure my mic's not getting muted again. Despite the fact that the law is not supposed to be used to target Americans, the government has been doing that for years. Once the government collects vast amounts of information, including emails, text messages, and other communications under Section 702, that content is stored in databases for years at a time. FBI, CIA, and NSA officials routinely search through this vast trove of data for information specifically about Americans, even though these communications were all collected without a warrant. Information found through these backdoor searches can be used to prosecute Americans for crimes, even if they were not related to national security. Information, we're not going to read through this whole thing because there's many of them. Information collected under 702 could be used against you, and you likely wouldn't know. The government can use information collected under 702 in a wide variety of contexts, from criminal cases to immigration proceedings. Despite the government being legally required to provide notice to defendants when information collected at Section 702 is used against him, in only a handful of cases has this notification been provided. Section 702 surveillance chills freedom of speech and association. The broad, warrantless collection of data under 702 creates an understandable fear that private messages may be read or used by the government. This fear creates a chilling effect on anyone using the internet to communicate, and has a particularly significant impact on the sensitive work done by journalists and lawyers who have reported change in what they say and whom they communicate with in the light of U.S. surveillance practices. See, there's some things that they should do. Based on the ACLU's recommendation, close the backdoor search loophole, narrow the broad over scope, prohibit the mass searching of Americans' emails and other online communications, improve oversight and transparency, limit how long the government can retain information collected by 702 and how the NSA shares that information with other agencies, and ensures that individuals are able to challenge 702. So this is not a good thing, just so you know. When the government continues to take steps to be able to watch you no matter what, to see who you're talking to see what you're talking about, yeah, I can hear the arguments for why that's a good idea. And I'm going to be honest with you, you have some kind of derangement syndrome if you believe this is good. You don't deserve your freedom. You should go live in, Russia or China, the places that you probably hate so much, because that's what this is turning us into. So we're going to take a break from that kind of talk. We're going to play another song. How about that? This is Sxlxmxn featuring Khari, Ennui, Roman Chains, everybody. Sxlxmxn, Roman Chains.
Yeah, nah, man, don't style it. Aaron's to the pieces. How you step outside, ring the bell when you wasted. Top of the year, I'm just out for waiting. Remind me to ride the time that I should've waited. I'm sorry for this Cuban girl. How you rock designer, how I rock the basics. So you rock the diamonds, the ice don't be flashy. Little more wild, now rock Michael J. Push it, pop on my ass like a wave for the sing. Take it off, mama talk, try again. Hall of Fame, all the same. You a nigga, you a damn, justify the chain gold. Neck piece like Halo, say less, be more, be like Bumble. Status, nigga. Status, one. This Cuban gold. This Cuban gold. All the honeys I loved before. If you ain't got here before, I put my hands up. Pray to God I'm in to find a prayer to clean my stanzas. When I'm on the map with the Steve, gotta act up. Highest stand, get the lowest folk. Wanna try to flip, get the hottest stove. All the honeys I loved before. If you ain't got here before, I put my hands up. Pray to God I'm in to find a prayer to clean my stanzas. When I'm on the map with the Steve, gotta act up. Highest stand, get the lowest folk. Wanna try to flip, get the hottest stove.
She bad when I'm home, I had probably hit another wreck. I wish she called me on a different day, one up for a check. Yeah, she bad when shit different, let my soul under rest. A double stash, I'd be asking if I taz on the track. Call Brandon half for a hook, a nigga fucking face tag. Ironic, Brand be the look, be letting quotes do the chat. They missed the memo, they too honed in on the glitz and the blacks. I missed the memo, I'm too honed in on the drip where it's split. Dress ain't shaded brown, black that I grew on. Where they break ain't never soda, where my brakes when nigga hold reattached. Been hit the brakes on niggas' waist, will cost a tank for a snack. Hit some grace when that shit pistol, then hit legs for a pallet wrench. This paper chairs with paper plates, sabbatical steps. I'm on my basis, till my name hang with the gallery plaques. Yeah, turn them alleys sprayed in white people salaries. That set on my shit, patience be my training, they just bullshitting.
Love before, yeah, that I loved before, yeah, I loved before. If you ain't got here before.
Next up we have Artificial, a Trinidadian originated artist.
Oh yeah, that was Sxlxmxn, everybody. Sxlxmxn. And look, I'm just gonna go into one more song, if that's okay. These guys are dope. They're called Analog Dog, and they have a new song out called Here I Lay in Bed. Give it up for Analog Dog, Here I Lay in Bed, everybody.
Here I lay in bed with all of my mistakes. I feel
beautiful. Analog Dog, everybody. I fucking dug that. Hey, another one, everybody, where if you can brainwash your algorithm into showing you cool shit, you'll find cool shit like Analog Dog. That's how I found them, just scrolling through Instagram and only stopping on music. Eventually you start finding really dope music, and there's a lot of it out there. Analog Dog, everybody, they just came out with a new album called Color TV. Check that out. That song was called Here I Lay in Bed, but check out their album. They're with Subtle Orange. I don't know who's opening who. I think Subtle Orange might be the headliner, but they're going to be at the Guild Theater in Menlo Park, California. So that's very dope. Check them out. Once again, that is Analog Dog, new album, Color TV. I love that vibe. I'm going to check out. I found so many artists that I'm now listening to throughout my days, and that might make this podcast worth it in the end altogether. Just that fact. So, obviously, we read about what the ACLU recommended that the Congress do when voting for. Well, they voted for it, and they did not pull back. In fact, according to The Guardian, the U.S. just isn't reauthorizing its they're getting to me. The U.S. isn't just reauthorizing its surveillance laws; it's vastly expanding them. This is by Caitlin Vogus. A little-known amendment to the reauthorized version of FISA would enlarge the government's surveillance powers to a drastic, draconian degree. The U.S. House of Representatives agreed to reauthorize a controversial spying law known as Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act last Friday, without any meaningful reforms, dashing hopes that Congress might finally put a stop to intelligence agencies' warrantless surveillance of Americans' emails, text messages, and phone calls. The vote not only reauthorized the act, though, it also vastly expanded the surveillance law enforcement. Okay, I'm having a problem today, guys. The vote not only reauthorized the act, though, it also vastly expanded the surveillance law enforcement can conduct. In a move that Senator Ron Wyden condemned as terrifying, the House also doubled down on a surveillance authority that has been used against American protesters, journalists, and political donors in a chilling assault on free speech. Section 702 in its current form allows the government to compel communication giants like Google and Verizon to turn over information. An amendment to the bill approved by the House vastly increases the law's scope. The Turner-Himes Amendment, so names for its champions, Representatives Mike Turner and Jim Himes, wonderful people I'm sure, would permit federal law enforcement to also enforce any other service provider with access to communications equipment to hand over data. That means anyone with access to a Wi-Fi router, server, or even phone. Anyone from a landlord to a laundromat could be required to help the government spy. The Senate is expected to vote on the House bill as soon as this week, and if it passes there, Joe Biden is likely to sign it. All Americans should be terrified by that prospect. Section 702 is supposedly a foreign intelligence tool that allows the U.S. government to surveil the communications of non-U.S. citizens abroad without a warrant. But as many civil liberties groups have pointed out, intelligence agencies like the FBI also use it as a warrantless spying tool against Americans. The FBI abused its authority under the law no fewer than 300,000 times in 2020 and 2021, according to a ruling from a FISA court judge. In arguing for the reauthorization of Section 702 late last year, Turner, chair of the House Intelligence Committee, shockingly suggested in a closed-door briefing that the law could be used to spy on Americans protesting against the war in Gaza. Of course, that's what we got from our media. The House didn't just fail to reform. Oh, it's not supposed to be that way. In most cases, the Fourth Amendment requires the government to have a court-approved warrant to obtain an American's communications. But intelligence agencies have used Section 702 as a loophole that allows them to vacuum up and comb through communications between an American and a foreigner who can be targeted under the law, all without a warrant. The House didn't just fail, and this brings to mind the NDAA, where you can be imprisoned without ever being charged. They can just say you're a terrorist and you can go to jail without ever being officially charged. That's in the NDAA, part of the Patriot Act. Yeah. The House didn't just fail to reform Section 702, it voted to grant intelligence agencies expansive new surveillance powers. The Turner-Himes Amendment would allow them to deputize ordinary Americans and businesses as government spies. When privacy advocates raised alarms about the Stasi-like powers that this would create, lawmakers like Himes brushed them off without a substantive response. The proposed expansions deserves an explanation. The U.S. government has a long history of abusing its existing surveillance powers. It would be naive to think it wouldn't abuse new ones. While the Turner-Himes Amendment lists some business types that are accepted from the requirement to help spy, like dwellings and restaurants, an almost limitless number of entities that provide Wi-Fi or just have access to Americans' devices could be roped into the government's surveillance operations. Using the Wi-Fi in your dentist office, hiring a cleaner who has access to your laptop, or even storing communications equipment in an office you rent could all expose you to increased risk of surveillance. The Turner-Himes Amendment would also make it harder to push back on the abusive surveillance practices, including those targeting First Amendment rights. Take, for example, the surveillance of journalists. Big tech companies may sometimes resist government orders to spy on news outlets. They command armies of lawyers, receive Section 702 orders frequently, and have a commercial incentive to at least appear to care about their customers' privacy concerns. But what hope could a news organization have that its cleaning crew, for instance, will want to take on the federal government on its behalf? The FBI abuses of Section 702 violate Americans' privacy and often threaten their First Amendment rights. A declassified report from 2023, for example, revealed that the FBI had used Section 302 to investigate Black Lives Matter protesters. Section 702 has also been used to spy on American journalists, weakening their First Amendment right to report the news by undermining their ability to speak with foreign sources confidentially, something reporters must do frequently. In response to these other abuses, many reformers argue that Section 702 should be reauthorized only with real reforms that would rein in government spying, such as requiring the government to get a warrant before it can access Americans' communications. Johnson himself initially attempted to weaken Vice's, I don't know if it's FISA or Visa, surveillance provisions in an effort to satisfy the hardline right-wingers in his caucus and Donald Trump. He did not succeed. The House voted to reauthorize Section 702 without adding a warrant requirement. The fact that Section 702 has been so often used against has been used so often against the exercise of First Amendment rights, including those of journalists, makes it both shocking and inexplicable that so many news outlets continue to support it. The Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and Chicago Tribune have all published editorials in recent days cheering the demise of the warrant requirement and urging Congress to reauthorize the law. But the House vote wasn't just a reauthorization. It was a drastic, draconian expansion of the government's surveillance powers. Some of the editorials scoff at Trump's recent nonsensical social media post criticizing 702 and frame the anti-surveillance crowd as a ragtag bunch of fringe right-wingers, ignoring the lawmakers and civil liberties organizations across the political spectrum opposed to extending FISA without reforming it. They also ignore the real threat Section 702 poses to Americans' privacy rights and First Amendment interests, especially if a future administration is determined to surveil and chill its opponents. Thankfully, it's not too late for Senate to prevent these abuses. In the face of the pervasive past use of Section 702, the last thing Americans need is a large expansion of government surveillance. The Senate should reject the House bill and refuse to authorize Section 702 without a warrant requirement. Lawmakers must demand reform to put a stop to unjustified government spying on Americans. And they didn't, just so you know. Let's see. Fourth Amendment bill passes. Okay, but thankfully, what was that senator's name that we've been talking about the whole time? Wyden. So this says, let me share this screen. The House of Representatives voted 220 to 197 to pass the Fourth Amendment is Not for Sale Act, which would ban the government from purchasing Americans' data from data brokers, and that they would otherwise need a warrant to obtain, including location and internet records. So they got a little bit of a protection pass for us, but not much. Yeah, I don't know. It's very bad. We're in a bad spot. I don't know. I hope you didn't hear that. Hopefully that'll be edited out. But this is not good for our country. It's not good for I when I think about what my kids' future is going to look like, I'm honestly terrified. Because they're going to have no privacy. I tell my kids they'll probably never drive. You know what I mean? Maybe my son will get a chance, but eventually it's just going to be it goes where it takes you. It goes to the job that you've been assigned. I 100%. I don't know. I don't want to get too crazy. You know, I'm a little. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Leave me some comments. Let's play some more music. Get the fuck out of here. I got to go to Awesome Day. All right, first up, this is Just Clark, Benny's Blues, everybody. Benny's Blues.
Benny bought dollar wine so he could keep his dollar sign. Said, hey, save for another day. Well, Benny, keep your dollar safe. You can rest assured there's so much more. What's in store when you're all aboard? Said, hey, Benny, don't pass me by. Oh, and hand me the dollar wine. I got those 6-string blues, bottle of booze. What have we got to lose? 6-string blues, bottle of booze. What have we got to lose? Faded jeans and submarines will take my money from the seams. I said, please, all I got's an empty hand. Well, Benny took my only chance. You know I stretch my dollar thin so I don't have to buy back in to know if you don't lose, you win. Well, Benny, you win again. I got those 6-string blues, bottle of booze. What have we got to lose? 6-string blues, bottle of booze. What have we got to lose? Six-string blues, bottle of booze. What have we got to lose? 6-string blues, bottle of booze. What have we got to lose?
Woo. Just Clark, everybody. Give it up for Just Clark. That's called Benny's Blues. You can find his stuff on Spotify. Didn't find any dates, but obviously, if I find them, I'll put all the stuff. Something cool that I noticed on his link tree. Let me show you. If you like that song, you can click on his link tree on his Instagram, which will be in the bio. His link tree will also be in the bio. Duh. But he has a tip jar. Look at that. He's got a tip jar on his link tree, and boom, you can just select an amount. You could probably select, I don't know. Maybe you can't do like a custom. I bet tip him $5. That's really cool. Just Clark, everybody. Benny's Blues. That was very dope. We're gonna move along because, like I said, I got to get to the Day of Awesome. I'm stoked that these guys let me use this song. I found another group I found on Instagram, just scrolling through, and the algorithm blessed me. These guys are called Dust Raps the Blues. They also have a boxing podcast called It's either It's Boxing or That's Boxing. I also sing and stuff. I'll show out stuff. But anyway, this is a dope song. It's called 3 Times. It's their brand new single. It features Sxlxmxn and one of my personal favorites, Guilty Motherfucking Simpson. So let's go. This is Dust Raps the Blues 3 Times, everybody.
Yo. Guard your life, we coming for the ice. Pay the ultimate price. Facts when I write my manifesto of ghetto. Ready, set, go. The impact can knock you out your retros. Falsetto to the deputy dogs is unforgivable. Stern with executive talk till life's livable. Gotta be comfy out the slums, G, where the kids can run free. Far from the rough streets where it's unsubs, proud where once was nothing but love. Nice to see, gotta be aware when you meet. It's a daring feat, going anywhere without heat. Neighborhoods hotter than South Beach. Too far gone for outreach. Street Democrats with house seats. When we send them back, you found the creeks. Meanwhile, I'm burning an ounce a week.
I had a gun pointed at my head 3 times. Twice was a motherfucking pig. I've had a gun pointed at my head 3 times. 4th ain't a motherfucker live. Come on. Hey yo, God is rich. Threaded through a needle eye. Evil empire. In the streets yelling freedom mine. Got opinions, but I just really need a light. Dodge a 9 to 5 just to catch a 3 to 9. Religion's just a business. Profit sharing. Death sells. Mind numb and my body failing. They tagging A-cab. I'm voting for body cameras. In the woods preparing ever since they gassed my grandparents. Think you never close the casket? Where you think the money goes when you pay your taxes, huh? This ain't a disassociation. Street numbers, gangs, and whole nations. White boys that can't fight farm or handle business. Run around my city yelling about anarchism. Cosplay justice, memorize party lines. Same people that'll go and celebrate a genocide. Anti-fascist, police snitches. Squinting, cause I can't ever see the fucking difference. Told a pistol when I walk now. Cause my city hostile, watching all my saviors chalked out. I had a gun pointed at my head 3 times. Twice was a motherfucking pig. I've had a gun pointed at my head 3 times. 4th ain't a motherfucker live. Come on. 4th ain't a motherfucker live. Come on.
Fuck yes. Dust the Raps, everybody. I said this guy's name was Sxlxmxn. I'm dumb. I believe it's Solomon. He spells it Sxlxmxn. I bet it's Solomon. But I don't know. Dust Raps the Blues. Solomon. Guilty Simpson. That's some dope ass shit, everybody. Follow them. Dust Raps the Blues. See, do I see any? I don't see any dates with him either. But everything will be in the link. Everything will be in the bio. Whew, very dope song. But yeah, thank you to everyone who sent me music today. We had 5 songs today: Dust Raps the Blues, Just Clark, Turning Jane, Ceylon, Analog Dog. Very great artists. I loved all of those songs. This was a great time today. We didn't get too heavy into anything crazy, just the shit that our government's doing to us. You know what I mean? Don't be unaware. That's like the worst thing you can do, in my opinion, is to just be completely unaware of what they're doing. And it doesn't stop at watching us and surveilling us and spying on us. And maybe some people don't think that's bad. And if you do think that, if you're okay, this is how we're going to end the podcast. This is how we're going to end the podcast today. All right? If you're okay with the government spying on you and using anywhere you might use your Wi-Fi to spy on you, if you're okay with the government banning protest and making the leaders of organizations and protest movements responsible for anyone that does damage within those protests, even if they're not associated with the organization, if you think those things are okay, then you are what we call a bootlicker. Have a good day. Stay woke. This has been Dylan's Law.
Dylan's Law. Dylan's Law. Dylan's Law. Dylan's Law. Dylan's Law. Dylan's Law. Dylan's Law. Dylan's Law. Dylan's Law. Dylan's Law. Dylan's Law. Dylan's Law. Dylan's Law.